Sunday. I'm a little bit early. I have some time on my hands. I just came back home. I went to the DMV for the DMV Dermatology and PPA Group's Friendsgiving. And so I'm back and I have some time on my hands. And I thought, let me jump on here so then I can kind of get settled for the night and get ready for work tomorrow. Today, as you can tell by the title, I'm so excited about this. I don't even remember if we had plans last week when I signed off on what we were going to talk about, but during the week, this came up, and I just thought this might really be a great continuation of our conversation that we started last week on how to get your first dermatology job as a nurse practitioner, which was the second installment of that conversation. And I've already done YouTube videos and articles on the Mahogany Dermatology blog about how to get your first job in dermatology. I've written ebooks, From Bedside to Dermatology, a step-by-step guide for nurses, the Dermatology Nurse Practitioner Starter Kit. So this is like a long conversation that we've been having, and this Dermatology Nurse NP externship is really just the next phase of that. So we'll get into that today, and the twist on this is that this is going to be an externship that you can create, okay? This is where medicine and entrepreneurship are going to intersect. We're going to go into skincare. I have some show and tell today. We have skincare. We have some podcast equipment. A haul. My glasses came in, so we'll get into all of that. I'll give you some podcast recommendations, and we'll do a regular rundown on all the other things I have going on. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Dr. Kimberly Madison, a doctorally prepared nurse practitioner, and I use social media to share my journey. I have met quite a few people in just the last week, so sounds like a good time to do a little introduction, if you will. So my whole, as far as derm goes, that started during my interest in derm started during the pandemic when my love bug had some acne. He wanted to, of course, I went to YouTube University to come up with a skincare regimen. He started talking about we should do microneedling, which I never heard of. I started going down that rabbit hole even further, and I never came back, friends. Then I started looking at it not so much as a consumer, but as a clinician. And so when I finished my DNP degree, I asked myself, what would I do if I could do anything for free? And I said, I would write. And there came the Mahogany Dermatology blog, because in my experience, the best way to learn is to put myself in a teaching position. And so, there's a lot of things to learn in medicine and nursing and dermatology. And if you don't have a place to put it, if you don't make different memories for your brain, there's like a lag. Hold on. Let me see what else I have open. Let's close out some of these. If you could see how many tabs I have open, I have like 4 or 5 24 hours, which isn't always an option for everyone. You can increase your retention by 75%, but also so can like showing up for virtual grand rounds, tutoring, teaching, putting things in your own words. All those things will help. As I said many times, the learning curve in dermatology, particularly for nurses and nurse practitioners, is very steep. And I guess you could say for all of us, because it's like the hardest residency for physicians. And so I guess in general, you could say that across the board. And so that's where the blog came from. And so trying to get this education that we don't really get enough of in nursing and NP school, went to the internet to look for opportunities for education, came across diversity in dermatology, went to their blog to see if they were NPPA friendly, and they were, but they also hadn't updated their blog in over 2 years. And so I messaged them to see if they needed an author for the blog. They did, they being Risha and Andrea, the co-founders of Diversity in Dermatology, and they brought me in to be the blog chair, invited me to be part of the Achieve program. I attended my first conference, and then from there, it's been one beautiful journey. Started getting to know people, learning about the different roles, certainly learning a whole lot more about my PA friends, all the industry side, the medical education side. I had already been a member of Dermatology Nurses Association, but then I joined the committee for the Journal of Dermatology Nurses Association. I had already been a member of the Society of Dermatology NPs, participated in their webinars. and then attended another conference, was inspired by that, as well as my friend Dr. Patrice Kiesling, to start the Facebook page, which needed a name, which is the DMV Dermatology and PPA group, which is a networking group for NPs and PAs who practice or aspire to practice in medical, surgical, and cosmetic dermatology in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And it was just supposed to be a page that maybe sometimes we get together and sometimes we might eat when we get together and just talk about everything from professional practice to entrepreneurship. And because of my relationships and connections with diversity in dermatology, good friend of mine, Shayna Moranti, a PA down there in Naples, Florida, extended her network to help us get sponsorship for our meet and greets and help us grow the group. And so that's been going on now for a year. We just celebrated our year anniversary. And shout out to Allie. She found me on the blog and she contacted me. We had a wonderful meeting, and through that exchange decided to start our first sister group, which is Derm NPs and PAs of Atlanta. So Allie, she is still in school. So that's really, no, they're really, a sister group for me because, she's younger, she's fresh into the industry. And so I'm using her really as like, a framework to see how we can get nurses and students more involved in publication, professional speaking, public speaking, social media, entrepreneurship, business, networking, being part of their professional organizations like we see with our physician colleagues. And so despite the fact that our physician colleagues have such a rigorous course load, they still do all those things: volunteer, put out publications, participate in summer programs, attend conferences. And so I would like to see if that's possible in nursing. I mean, I know it's possible. It's about creating a framework and what that looks like. So through Allie, I'm creating that, and I come on here and share that. And then got invited to be on the editorial advisory board for the Journal of Clinical and Aesthetic Dermatology's MPPA Perspectives dermatology supplement, and to be a peer reviewer. So thank you to them. I'm really excited. And also this year got invited to be on the Hair Review Advisory Board at Children's National Hospital, one of 10 programs that received a grant from the American Nurses Association to address racism in nursing. The initial goal was to create scopes and standards, but through the research and the work that the team is doing, we realized that the first step is actually going to be to develop competencies, and then from there be able to develop scopes and standards. So that's where we are right now. And just really honored, really proud. They're doing amazing work. And so the competencies will be to establish how to properly assess and care for the scalp and hair. And of course, this is in the pediatric setting, but certainly once this foundation is set, we'll be able to, this will be transferable. And while it might seem obvious that that should be in our realm, we know that when it comes to really our training and even our practice, the skin is at the bottom of the totem pole until there's a problem. Even though it's the largest organ of the body, a lot of attention is given to what we consider the major organs: the brain, the heart, the kidneys. And so the skin tends to get a little bit neglected, not only in practice, but in our education. And when we talk about that education, which is where I spend the bulk of my time, there's a lack of diversity in dermatology when it comes to education, when it comes to skin of color, medical research, clinical trials, medical images, particularly in textbooks, the inclusion criteria for those clinical trials, and patient care. So on average, it takes 12 years to become a dermatologist. Patients wait 35 days in densely populated areas like I live in now, Houston, and up to 75 days in rural communities. And so we know that NPs and PAs were created specifically to help address the physician shortage, primarily in primary care, but over the course of time, that demand is being seen in every single specialty. And with older adults, my favorite age group being the fastest growing age segment of the population, that demand isn't going anywhere. And in fact, there's more stress on our system. And so NPs and PAs play a significant role when it comes to addressing these gaps in care. And so I'm just here to share my journey. I present it as a case study. I try to be as transparent as possible to show both the joys of entrepreneurship as well as the challenges and how we can address those challenges. I do not claim to be an expert, but I do claim to remain curious and I love partnership. So if you're watching this and you want to partner in any way, let's hop on a video call. So every week we come on live. I've been doing this for almost a year. I started last December during Vlogmas. I use that as a kickstart to get this channel running. I had been doing, I'm on every platform, but this one was really lagging, and Vlogmas helped me get started. I won't be doing Vlogmas this year. And actually, friends, I've decided to take a sabbatical in December. So I took a sabbatical when I finished DMP school. I took one and that was a year long. And then I took one in August, my birthday month. And last week, I just decided, December is going to be a really great time. It's a great time to close out the year, get organized, go over my budget. Because I do want to go over that. I do want to dedicate a show to talking about all the things I paid for to run social media. And then I'm enrolled in that course that I've hinted at. I want to focus on that now that I finished my certification. So I want to finish that, focus on that. I've been working on this article for over a year. I really want to finish that up and get ready for the internship. So I have a Mahogany Telederm nurse internship for a company that I started 2 years ago. And with traveling and moving all around, which is why I try to be so transparent, I haven't really been able to do much with that, but now I'm getting closer to being able to put a lot of attention there. And through my learning and witness and, watching my peers who have started their own businesses, I need a team. And my primary thing, remember, is writing. I want to put out publications. And when I look at my physician colleagues who put out papers after papers after papers, yet they're still quite busy, it dawned on me, they're able to do that partly because they have a team, typically of graduate assistants or med students, residents. And I was like, well, I don't have to be in academia to have that team. So I created this internship, and it's been my number one recommendation for all my healthcare provider entrepreneur friends, right? Because if you stay persistent and consistent in your business, it will grow. And when it grows, you're going to need help. You're going to need a team. As entrepreneurs, time and capital are limited, right? At the same time, while we need help, there are our peers who need experience. And one thing we know is that people will say, how can I get experience if you don't hire me? So this concept of creating your own internship, which will help providers see that our value is beyond just what we do with our hands, right? These soft skills that are super transferable, we can give them that, right? As what we've learned as we're learning that intellectual property. And so there's a lot of things to keep in mind. What kind of help do you need? What does that structure look like? Protecting your intellectual property and helping them get exposure to the network, to the information that you wish you had. I think we all love being able to mentor and see that journey. And so this is another way to do that. And they do it in every other industry. So why not this one? And so today we'll talk about what that looks, even though I'm really big on the internship and those soft skills. Today we're going to talk a lot about the externship and those hard skills, if you will, with opportunities to interject some soft skills. If you're here in the comments, please don't be shy. Say something in the comments. I did start a little bit early, so I do apologize for that, but I have time on my hands, so I wanted to get started. So every week, one of the main things I focus on is that if you're taking care of other people, you have to take care of yourself. It is so important. And so while we learn all about patient-centered care, in my experience becoming a provider, I think it's important to focus on provider-centered practice. And what does that look like? That means holding back a little bit and not giving everything and having nothing left in the tank at the end of the day. But if everyone on the team, even though they're holding back a little bit, does their role, the patient will still get the best care. They'll still get that patient-centered care that we learn about. And when we all go home, we'll still have something left in the tank. Maybe there'll be less burnout. Maybe we'll have a little more joy, a little more room for creativity. And so it's an idea that I'm putting out there. So part of that means that health and wellness, we have to take care of ourselves. If you're in practice and clinic all 5 days, when do you have time for yourself? And part of taking care of yourself is spirituality. So we always start these videos with a little devotional. Now, I've been doing one on anxiety because I talked about a lot of anxiety, my personal anxiety, over the last year. And we've done that for about 3 or 4 weeks now. I don't remember, but I'm switching things up now. I found this devotional. I use the Holy Bible app. This devotional plan is called How to Pray for Healing and Get Results. So it's a good time of year. We're entering seasonal affective disorder. It's a lot of holidays for people. There's less sunlight. And so it can be a really, ebony eyes. Oh my gosh, 2 weeks in a row. Thank you so much. So it can be a really tough time for people who are going through grief, loneliness, and not just people who've lost people who have people in the military. I know that quite personally what that is like during this time of year. And so, and of course, we're in the business of healing. So when I saw this one, I thought it would be really good. So let's jump into it. We'll do the devotional, and then we'll do the little scripture, and then we'll jump into how you can create your own dermatology nurse practitioner externship. So I have this all set up. Okay, here we go. So this is principle number 1. Understand that you are not alone. When praying for healing, it is very important that we do not have the power. It is very important to understand that we do not have the power in ourselves to heal someone. God is the one who heals in the name of Jesus and by the power of the Holy Spirit. The good news is that if you're a believer, God lives in you. The first disciples of Christ were greatly used by God for extraordinary healings. Take this example in which Peter and John ministered healing to a paralytic man. Then Peter said, "Silver or gold I do not have, but when I do have, I give you. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, walk." Taking him by the right hand, he helped him up, and instantly the man's feet and ankles became strong. He jumped to his feet and began to walk. Then he went with them into the temple courts, walking and jumping and praising God. Faced with such a miracle, people reacted with great admiration, and Peter explained, "Fellow Israelites, why does this surprise you? Why do you stare at us as if by your own power or godliness we made this man walk?" He then added, "By faith in the name of Jesus, this man whom you see and know was made strong. It is Jesus' name and the faith that comes through him that has completely healed him, as you can all see." The first disciples saw all these miracles because they understood that they were not alone. As we read in the theme verse of our devotional today, which comes from Mark 16, verse 20, Jesus worked together with them, confirming the gospel message through miracles. He is the same today and continues to confirm his gospel the same way. The greater our awareness that Jesus is the healer, the more we will witness God's miracle. Miracle healings do not happen because of our personal efforts or good works, but because of Jesus' sacrifice at the cross. As we pray for healing, we must be aware of the presence of Jesus in us and trust that he will heal the sick. You can trust in the living presence of Christ in you. You do your part to share the gospel and pray, but he is the healer. He continues to confirm the gospel with signs and wonders today. Putting it into practice. As you pray, practice the presence of Jesus. Intentionally directing your affection to him and becoming aware of his living presence in you. Tomorrow, we will learn about the importance of faith when we pray for healing. That tomorrow will be the next time you see me. And our verse for today comes from Mark 16, verse 20. "And they went forth and preached everywhere, the Lord working with them and confirming the word by the signs that followed." Amen. Thank you. Okay, so let's get into the externship. I do have a surprise for you. After we get into it, I'll tell you the surprise. Okay, so let's talk about this externship. I even wrote down some notes, so I'm going to pull those up right now. So the externship. So this is going to be. So there are some that exist. There are nurse practitioner externships that exist. I think most of us are familiar that there are nurse externships. I know I have plenty of them working on our unit. Typically, they're still in school. I think it's like their last semester, maybe their last year. Even I think we had some come 2 summers in a row. Anyway, they typically will work on a unit. They get used to the staff, and a lot of those externs would eventually get offered jobs and start working there. So let's apply that concept to dermatology nurse practitioner opportunities. Now, this is where medicine and entrepreneurship intersect. So as scientists, entrepreneurs, we're used to creating things. However, that's what our PhD trained nurse colleagues do. They generate new knowledge. Unfortunately, when we take that route of med school, nursing school, we tend to get a little, that creativity tends to get squashed down a little bit because there's so many things that prerequisites that have to be met before you can do something, exams you have to pass, board certifications, licensures. And so we kind of get that paralysis analysis before we move forward, before we make recommendations. We have to check these boxes. We have to look at the research. And that can take a lot of time before we ever move forward. Whereas in entrepreneurship, I have an idea on Sunday. This idea can be implemented Sunday night, Monday morning. Like we figure it out as we go, as opposed to figuring it out before we start in medicine. So I told you last time about getting your own shadowing opportunity. You can use that to get preceptors. You're going to do the same thing for this externship. Now, if you're trying to get a job in dermatology, you're trying to get a job with an employer. That employer typically is a business owner, right? The mind of business owners, which is one thing we talked about at our Friendsgiving this last Thursday. It was awesome. So, the Friendsgiving, we ended up not being able to sponsor it. We ended up not being able to sponsor it because of some miscommunication. And so, people still showed up and they still paid for their own meal. And it worked out great because we were all able to identify problems and we were able to come up with solutions for every single person. And I wasn't even going in with that idea and we walked out with that. And so for me, that's phenomenal. That's why I'm here, to help people do whatever they're trying to do. So what I told them is, when you think about you want to start a business, you're going to sit here for 30 minutes and tell me about your business, all the things you want to do with it, how it's going to look, how people are going to access you, the cost. When you listen to these podcasts, they're talking about that too, right? Their dream of having a business, creating a better life for their family. At no point do I ever hear the entrepreneur in the beginning, when they're creating, talk about how they're going to create a wonderful life for their employee, right? And so as an employee, there tends to be a little bit of tension or butting of heads because we want more than the employer is willing to give in a lot of cases. So with an understanding of how a business person thinks, you can respect that, okay, I can see where they're trying to operate lean, where they're not going to give here, where they're not going to do that. You might not like it, but at least you can respect it. Now, as an employee, it's still your job to speak up, to negotiate, to advocate for yourself, and remind that business owner that this is part of the job too. You still have a responsibility over here too. And so part of an entrepreneur's role, if they have employees, is to also invest in learning not only how to attract, competitive, loyal, quality candidates, but how to retain them. We all understand that employers could do a better job of retaining us, right? And so I think if you're thinking about creating a business that has employees, it's worth your investment to figure out how to retain them. So you're going to take all this information that you know about business owners. They're busy. They're doing multiple things at once. They don't have time to think or be creative. You want to figure out how you can make their life easier. You want to identify their pain points. One way you can do that is general across the board. They need help. They have a lot of patience. That's a general understanding. But you could also invite them out to lunch on you, lunch, breakfast, bagel, smoothie, whatever you want to call it. Say, I'm going to just take up, 30 minutes of your time. That's an easy one, right? Especially if you have a connection. Maybe you went to the same university. Maybe you met on LinkedIn. Maybe someone gives you a good word. Maybe you just showed up and gave a basket during the holidays. And then you come back 2 weeks later or after the new year and you're like, oh, hey, I'm back. Would love to take you out to lunch. Would love to treat your staff, right? And so maybe during that time, whether you come there and have lunch with them or you take them out, listen to their pain points. You want to let them do most of the talking. When they identify their pain points, you want to address those pain points. Now, you can address them if you listen to these videos. I've identified pain points that people have. So if you can let them do all the talking, or you can control that conversation and hit all the pain points that they will likely have, unless they just have the best staff in the world and don't need anything. They need quality staff who's going to do what they say, show up for the hours that they need. They need people who know Derm, right? Derm is a very busy practice. So you need to be able to hit the ground running as much as possible, or say that you're already in a program, you already have mentorship, you're already doing something to support your learning and your ability to contribute to the team. So that's one less thing that the employer has to worry about, right? You're trying to reduce their burden. So the externship. So you're going to create your externship. You're going to put on there all the different diagnoses that you want to see. you're going to make it super easy. Look, I'm going to come Monday through Friday, 8 hours. Maybe if you're still in school, maybe you can't come 8 hours. So put whatever you're available to do, what time you're going to show up, what time you're going to leave, when you're going to take a break. And you're going to put all the different things you want to see in medical, surgical, and cosmetic dermatology. You're going to have a log where you're going to track all the different diagnoses you see, all the different procedures you can participate in. You're going to look at your own syllabi if you're in school. You don't have to be in school for this to happen. On average, I think I've been at NP school for a while, but you can probably Google this, see how many clinical hours they're asking for each course. I don't remember, but I know when I was trying to, which I talked about before, when I was trying to get my license last year in Texas, and they wanted me to do another 400 hours in farm. So like anywhere between 300 to 400 hours, I think is really good. And I think because of the learning curve in derm, the more you can get, the better. Now, if you are in NP school and you're trying to get an externship, like set this up, most schools will allow like 40 hours of we'll call it extracurricular clinical hours. So things that are not technically primary care, but just because your school only take 40 hours, that doesn't mean you can't do more than 40 hours. Even one of Caleb, our advisor in the Blacksburg for the DMV Dermatology group, that's exactly what he did. He did 40 hours, but he stayed after the 40 hours, continued to do his hours. I can't remember if that's the practice he works at now, but you can certainly do that. So you're going to fill out how many hours you're going to get, because this is a proposal, right? So you want to put what you need on there. You don't want to give them opportunity to see something small like 40, and then you have to come back again later and say, oh, but I want more time, right? You're going to do everything up front. And then, so you're going to put your hours, you're going to put what you want to see. And if you want to have experience with the front desk and biologic coordinator and the office manager, put that on there. If you want to look at some jobs that are already posted and look at those qualifications for those roles and look at the skills. Do you have those skills? Do you need more experience? Include how that can be embedded in your externship. Yeah, and just say what it is that you're looking for. Do you want hands-on experience? Do you want access to the medical record? I think that would be the main thing. So let me look over this. So in the beginning, you want to put what the benefits are for the employer. Remember, you always assume you're only going to get 30 seconds of somebody's time for them to decide if they want to hear more. So in the front of it, you want to say what you're asking for, which is a dermatology nurse practitioner externship program that's going to equip you with the knowledge, skills, and experience to help you be successful on a dermatology team as a provider. And you'll be able to get this through their direct mentorship, hands-on training, and a focus on patient care, both the clinical and medical, surgical, and cosmetic cases. So the benefit for you'll get mentorship, clinical experience. I emphasize that you get some access, some exposure to skin of color and how those presentations and our approach to care are unique. Aesthetic dermatology training, some observation, and really put like how many hours you're going to observe things before you move into doing things. Just make it really clear. Now, just because this is your proposal, so they can come in later and make adjustments, but at least you give them a head start and it's just less work for them to think about. And then career preparation. So you'll have your CV, and that would be part of your proposal. And if you know there's already conferences coming up or meetings, put that in there. That's what you're gonna be spending your time doing. The books you're gonna be reading, the program you're taking, all the things you're doing to supplement your education and your training there that they don't have to worry about, but they at least want to know that you're doing it. And remember, all your background doesn't have to be just derm, because I told you before that foundation needs to be heavy on internal medicine, general medicine. That's an extension of derm. So you need to be solid there too. So even emphasizing that is still important. But they need to see derm on there, heavy on the derm. And then the benefits for the employer, they get an enhanced work development. They're going to help create a pipeline of trained dermatology-focused nurse practitioners tailored to their practice. You're going to help improve patient care. They'll get support from you, from someone who's enthusiastic, loves learning, eager to contribute to patient outcomes under supervision, and help support the team. You're going to increase their visibility. You're going to position your practice as a leader in clinical education and diversity in dermatology in whatever way you see fit. And then it will help them hire top performing providers who align with their mission and values. And so you can present this for yourself. You can present this for them to use with other people. And so that would be my recommendation. Present it in a way that they can use it over and over again, because that's going to increase the value, right? Because you're just one person. But if you can show them that, hey, this is something you can use over and over, that's going to really pique their interest, because it's less work for them, right? You're going to point out how that you're going to help them decrease patient wait times. You're going to help them with patient education. Maybe you're going to help them with scribing. Oh man, there's so many things you can help with if they're not comfortable with you doing direct patient care, or you don't have enough experience to do that. Those are some other areas where you can be of benefit to the practice. And when you meet with them, you can find out what some of those pain points are. If you don't get a chance to meet with them, maybe meet with someone in their practice. But I feel pretty good that you can at least get 5 minutes in person or on the phone, so you can get enough information to find out what those pain points are, where you can be of better assistance. Maybe they need help with other things like writing or social media or marketing that you can add, that you can do while you're there to further support the practice. So in there, you're going to have your proposal, your CV. Remember, I recommend CV over resume. And like your letter of intent, like what do you want to get out of this? Make sure everything is spelled correctly, formatted nicely, legible, has your name on it. Include your transcripts and 2 letters of recommendations. And you can give them an example of what your log will look like, on what you're gonna, how you're gonna document what you're learning. So date, procedure, skills that you acquire. This is as good for you as it is for them. The patient demographics, using mostly like nothing patient identifiable, no patient identifiers. And then reflection, notes, things that you learn, resources that you're utilizing. And then you can request for a recommendation letter upon completion, or maybe even a certificate, especially if you get so many out. Like if you're getting 300-400 hours, you should get a certificate at the end of this. You can even present them what that certificate could look like. You can put their logo and branding on it and say you're going to send them the file so that they can just upload it and make adjustments as they need to through Canva, which you can link people through Canva. Yeah. And you can even write that recommendation letter. I mean, there's different teams on recommendation letters, but I've had people ask me to write it. They would read it and sign it. And then I've had people write it from scratch. And that's mostly what I do. I write recommendation letters from scratch. So yeah, you're going to create your own nurse practitioner dermatology externship proposal, and just relieve their burden. So that's the idea. If you do it, please let me know how successful you are. If you're going to conference, that would be super wonderful. You can do it in person. And so you'd have to follow them to know that they're going to a certain conference. So yeah, that's that. So my surprise is, I'm working on this dermatology DNP project idea book. I'm meeting with my web designer tomorrow, and I've asked him to add a new page so that we can put up a wait list for the book. And for those of you who sign up for the wait list, I'm going to send you a free copy of your own dermatology nurse practitioner externship proposal. So that'll be my gift to you. I will update you next week. Throughout the week, once it's up, I'll probably go on social media and announce that the waitlist has started. And yeah, once you sign up for the waitlist, then I'll send you that proposal upon purchase of the book. So let me know if you have questions about the externship, if you've done an externship, advice you have for it, how it could have been better. It's very similar to preceptorship, but it tends to be a little bit longer. And then, of course, you're going to be asking for, you don't have to be a student to do this. That's like the main thing to emphasize. You don't have to be a student, but more than likely you don't have dermatology experience. And so you want to emphasize to that employer the benefits for them, what problems you're going to alleviate, and you want to be very specific about what you need, the hours, the type of exposure, the type of diagnoses you want to see, which when you go look at these job applications, you can kind of get a sense of, and all the professional development, and then what you're doing to support your growth that they don't have to worry about. That's like the main thing. Okay, let's jump into this other stuff that we do on a weekly basis. So my compound product came in, I told you, from Leah Waller out in Reston, Virginia. So this compound is azelaic acid, 6%, kojic acid, 4%, and niacinamide, 3%. I've been using this for almost I've been seeing Leah for a year. Yeah, it'll be almost a year. I've documented that also on this channel. I used to do those. I used to do episodes totally dedicated to my skin, and now I just give little updates. And so the plan is to do laser, and I just have to figure out when I'm going to do that. And then I have a bunch of equipment up here. So, I have the podcast, the Melanin Initiative podcast. It's a health literacy podcast. We do two things. We promote health literacy for the public. And then the other one is our professional arm, where we showcase the expertise of nurses and bring awareness to all the other professions available in the healthcare industry. So we have a producer, shout out to Angie. And I share my experience as, an employer, right? So there's a lot of things to learn as an employer. I've read some books to help me, and I've shared books with her so she can also continue to develop skills. We're going to do a lot more of that in the new year. But one thing I noticed, I noticed that, she went on vacation, and I decided to give her PTO. I decided I'm just going to give her PTO when she goes on vacation because she works really hard. And so that's one way you can help support your employees and show that you value them and help with retention, right? Invest in them, offer benefits that you find that are within your budget. So anyway, I noticed that she was going on vacation and she was still doing things kind of like at the last minute. And so I told her, she can do things in advance. Before she came on board, I used to post things, just take one day, social media, to avoid burnout, to be consistent. My recommendation is to batch content. Sometimes it's batch content creation, and sometimes it's batch uploading and writing out captions and picking out templates. And so I used to upload like 2 or 3 episodes at a time on YouTube and on Buzzsprout. And it makes life a lot easier. And so through that exchange, I realized she doesn't have an external hard drive. So that's going to be my Christmas gift to her. This is Samsung T7 Shield. It's 4 terabytes. So if you're looking to get into the social media space in any facet, and you're going to create video files and audio files, they are very large files. They will slow down your system so quickly. And so these external hard drives are wonderful. So I already have one myself, and I take this everywhere. And so every month or so, I will transfer things off the computer, put it on here. Now, after a lesson, after I record interviews on the podcast, I immediately download it on here. We record our video on StreamYard. And for the most part, StreamYard stores it there. I pay for them to store it there. And then we lost one, and that person had done 2 interviews. And so I had to go back and do them again. Thankfully, they were very understanding, but I don't want to have to keep doing that. Everybody's time is quite valuable. So ever since then, as soon as we finish recording, I download both the video and the audio. That's just one kind. There's so many. This one is like $263, I think. They have a Black Friday sale going on. I'll link it in. I've already linked it in the description box. Yay, me. And you can get smaller terabytes. I asked my tech expert, and that's what they told me to get, for cheaper, of course. There's another one that I have. And so I brought this out because I have to use an extension I have a MacBook that I record on when I do remote interviews. And the MacBook, the Mac doesn't have, and I guess I could have, for this one in particular, this extension doesn't fit into the Mac. And so I think we just went to Best Buy and we got this extension. So this is super handy to have, plugs in right in there. And then I keep this like this. And so I can use this there's all kinds of equipment. You might need microphones, cameras that won't fit. And so that's really helpful. And you can get those anywhere. So podcasts, I want to give you 2 recommendations to people who I linked with since I last saw you. The first one is going to be Dermot Trotter with Dr. Shannon Trotter. She's a dermatologist. I put her name in the description box. She just started her show. If I see, I listen to podcasts on Spotify, and if I look correctly, she just started her show in September. And I noticed that she just interviewed a good friend of diversity in dermatology, Janelle Ball. I've talked about Janelle before. She created her own, she's a biologic coordinator, and she created her own biologic coordinator company. I think that's brilliant. And so she has her own podcast, and she was invited on Dr. Trotter's podcast. So I linked both of them below. Janelle's show is That's Derm Good. And last but not least, my favorite dermatology podcast, hands down, is the Derm Club with Dr. Hannah Koppelman. I have been listening to her podcast for some time now. I listen to a lot of content. I consume a lot of content. And I can tell you, between podcasts, webinars, conferences, there's like a handful of topics that everyone talks about. And it can make you think that dermatology is only about a few things. But I've told you many times that there are like 3,000 to 4,000 diagnoses in dermatology, but you really don't hear a lot about all of them. But not on the Derm Club. The caliber of guests, the topics that Dr. Koppelman has chosen are phenomenal. I think my favorite one was this week when she talked about entrepreneurship, women empowerment, and dermatology, like all my favorite things. And it's like I knew she was a dermatologist. I knew she, was in the social media space. But to hear her talk about like the entrepreneurship role, and certainly getting her, I think she went to like a mastermind, that whole space, that whole conversation, the empowerment. She had an NP on there. Like, it was phenomenal. Hands down, my favorite episode. She said some really good stuff on there. And so she's down there. She's on LinkedIn, and I'm just so excited to have connected with her. And I look forward to sharing more in the future. So please go follow them, listen to their shows, rate them, and share them with your network. It's really, really good stuff. So I told you last week my walking pad came, my standing desk came while I was home. So I'll put that together this week, and I'll give you a review next time I see you. And let's do these glasses. So how cute is this little box? And while I take this out, I'll tell you about our Friendsgiving. So we had our Friendsgiving. It was so good. It was just so good to be able to talk about practice, like our business, our practice, not necessarily patient care, but our practice, and to solve problems. And it was wonderful, 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 wonderful. And so as we're talking, we're coming up on the first winter meet and greet for our Blacksburg group with Caleb as your advisor. That one in Richmond, right now, I think Richmond is going to be the 18th of December. We should be able to finalize that for you in the next 48 hours. Both are sponsored by Arcutis. Thank you to them so much for their support. And then we'll start our virtual grand rounds in January. That'll be fun. Me and Caleb will start working on those soon. We've already picked out the templates, and we'll be rolling that out in January. Let's see. Ooh, so great. I have, so for our DMV Dermatology MPPA group, we did get a code to get you 50% off registration for the upcoming Diversity in Dermatology conference. And so if you're not on Facebook, but you are part of the email notification list, then you should be hearing from me this week about that. Shout out to Allie down there in Atlanta. She's the advisor for our Derm MPs and PAs of Atlanta group. She's doing wonderful down there. This past week, you heard from her regarding Botox, and she's sharing her journey and doing a wonderful job doing that with storytelling. And so let's see here. No, it says the chat is disconnected. I don't know why that is. I don't know if that's on my end. You have to tell me. Okay, here we go, friends. And these are you can return these. And they do have the company is Zelo. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But a lot of friends, I think I used one of my friends, those codes that they can share, help you get discount. But anyway, you can go on there. You can do you can upload your picture and see what the glasses look like on your face. But you can also do like AR, artificial reality. And so you can see your face in real time with the glasses on. So and these are prescription. So the only reason I got as many as I did, which I thought I ordered 4. I think I ordered one from the other company, was because they're returnable. So it's hard for me to tell by looking in the camera, but you can tell me what you think. And these are all like under $100. They might have to grow on me. Normally I buy glasses from my eye doctor, but they feel good and the size works great. And I don't think I ever had like circle glasses before. Round glasses. Round frames. And then, oh man. Okay, I went back and forth on these. Oh, those are so clear. I didn't even think there was a lens. They look so bright on the screen, but now they don't look that bright. But that might be not a bad thing because I was concerned they might be too bright. I've always wanted to be bold with my glasses, and with that price point, it was easy. It's funny, it's going to take me a while for these to grow on me. And then one more. Okay. Oh, these are the green. I've been wanting green glasses for so long. And so you can get the frames by themselves. So that's like the lowest price point. And then every time you add on a new feature, it gets more expensive. Okay, so those aren't too bad. What do you think? I think those so far might be my favorite. I didn't want them to be too big, but we'll see. We'll see what I think. But yeah, every time you add on something else, so like the prescription, one of these I added on like oil smudge free, something like that. Maybe blue light, some kind of blue light filter. And then my doctor had already given me like my prescription, but you can also download like a little measuring tape. I didn't do that. I just looked at my prescription, but now I do have this one. And so you have your prescription, you have your pupil distance, and then I measured it from like my ear to my eye. And those all fit really good. That part came out good. I think I was more nervous about that than the actual style. And then they gave me back my prescription too. Oh, okay, this is what I got. Single vision, blue light blocking, high index. I don't remember what the high index was all about. So yeah, let me look over my agenda, make sure we went over everything. So yeah, I told you, I dropped 2 articles this week on the Mahogany Dermatology blog on exosomes and Botox. National Botox Day was the 20th. So I dropped an article on that. If you're not, I'm sure you're familiar with exosomes. If you're watching me, then you probably see our other colleagues in aesthetics talking about exosomes, which primarily is where I see it on my own social media feed. There are these small extracellular vesicles that can be used in aesthetics, but also for skin cancer, wound healing, regeneration. You can find them in a variety of places, including urine, blood, stem cells. No, bone marrow. Yeah, stem cells, bone marrow, to name a few. Now, the fact that you can find them in a variety of places has created some limitations when it comes to creating standardized practices and protocols. So in the article, I talk about a general overview of what exosomes are, and then the limitations. And I provide examples on the advantages, disadvantages, and where research is kind of concentrating their time right now in terms of how they should be implemented. So yeah, go over there and check that out. But yeah, like I said this week on social media, when it comes to my advice for nurse researchers, I think it's so important that we remain unbiased. And so when you're writing your DNP projects or whatever, you're writing papers in NP school too. I can't remember if we wrote papers in the bachelor's level, but you have opportunities to write all the time. And it's important that you remain unbiased, present data that both supports the argument that you're trying to make and challenges you as well. Whatever question or argument you're trying to make, you should be able to provide evidence that supports you and also challenges you, makes you think, makes you reconsider your original statement. I think that's very important. And the thing is, when it comes to research, credible research, you can find things that support every argument. And so when you're writing a paper and you want to move the conversation forward, you want to move practice forward, bring both perspectives to the conversation. And that's my advice. And so I tried to do that in this article a little bit. And I think that's all we have, friends. So yeah, if you haven't already, this is your chance to subscribe, leave a comment or two. This way you can be notified when I release a new episode. So I told you I'm going on sabbatical. So I'm thinking about doing the sabbatical different than the August one. So in August, I didn't make any videos, and I had talked about doing batch content, making the videos and scheduling them out. I really want to do that for December because I want to see how it goes and compare the experience and share that with you. Because I've never actually scheduled videos on YouTube live. So when I was doing that before, I pre-recorded them on StreamYard and then uploaded them to YouTube for the podcast. But I want to play with this YouTube and see if I can, I don't even know how that would work. If I can make videos on YouTube and schedule them out in advance. And so I'll share that with you, what that experience is like. If it doesn't take up too much time. That's the whole point, is to give me some extra time so I can do some things. So Thanksgiving's coming up. I want to wish you a happy and safe Thanksgiving wherever you may be, whatever you may be doing. And so, yeah, I think that's actually going to be it because December will be here and then my sabbatical. So I think this might be our last video together, live anyway. If all goes well, I'll schedule everything out. Of course, there's 5 Sundays in December. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted on my other social media platforms about what I decide to do. But yeah, I invite you to take a break too, right? If you're a student, you're going to get a break. Although I know for students, you guys keep working. You work even more for the money so that during the semester you can not work as much. I know you have to do what you have to do, but if you can get any kind of break in there, I just recommend it as much as possible. Whether that break is physically going somewhere, listening, doing something you don't normally do, laying on the couch, watching movies, listening to music, taking some derm courses, attending some events. There is a conference in December, the Sunrise Dermatology and Procedures Conference with our good friend Patricia Delgado out there in Florida. They had to reschedule it because of the hurricane. And so our good friend Teresa Talons, she will be there and doing the surgical workshop along with Tristan, who used to be with Diversity in Dermatology. Now he's over at Derm Squared, I believe. He's been a PA for over a decade, also in Florida. And so they'll be teaming up to provide your basic and advanced surgical workshop. I attended there last year. That was the inspiration for the DMV Dermatology group as we know it today. A good friend of ours, Dr. Keisha Cash, she's a member of Dermatology Nurses Association, powerhouse in dermatology. And she'll be there. She's on the board who helps plan all the conferences. It's just a really great conference. It's great to go to Florida in December, especially if you're local. That should be super easy. So that's something you could put on your radar. If you want to come over and help us put together some of these virtual grand round presentations, you can add that to your resume, and then start learning derm. You don't have to, if you want to present it and work on your public speaking, you can do that. But if you don't, you just want to create it and learn and have that in your back pocket, that's fine too. So yeah, just take a break to figure out, how you want to start the new year. If you have a business, this could be a really great time to, tighten things up, because it's really hard to build and work at the same time. And so I'm hoping by sharing these sabbaticals, by doing them, that I can be a role model for, like, it's okay to take a break and then to come back. Because it's not like a real break. I mean, I'm be working in the background, but taking a break from a few things so that you can get that time back and come back better, stronger, more structured, more focused than if you didn't take the break. So would love to hear how you spend your break. The blog, I'll still be putting articles up there. And yeah, I'll still be answering emails and questions and things like that. I don't know if I have any video calls time available. But if I do, you can use it and schedule a call. I don't mind doing that. But yeah, I'll just be taking a break from a few things. And I'll see you in the new year. I thank you so much for your support. It's been a wonderful year. So much has happened. So much is going to be happening. It was a wonderful trip home. Took quite a few meetings, and they were all quite delightful, I must say. Just so happy to still be doing this. If there's anything I can do for you to encourage you to keep going, as long as you have already identified who you are, what your purpose is, what you're trying to do, then I would encourage you to keep going. If you haven't done those things and you're unsure sometimes, your confidence is waning, then maybe a break would serve you well, and you can figure out the answers to those questions. And once you figure those questions out, just keep putting one foot in front of the other. It will work out. It will work out. That's something I can promise you. What the it is, now that might change. That might evolve with life. Life does that. But the goal, your overall mission, whatever that might be, helping people, encouraging them, creating pathways, building communities, that can happen in so many different ways, whether it's through nursing, through dermatology, or something completely different. Stay true to who you are, stay close to whatever and whoever you believe in, and always make time for the things that you say matter, because in the end, that's all that matters. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I wish you nothing but the best. And in particular, for December, I wish you nothing but peace and rest, my friends. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the new year. I'll see you next time.